An NBA insider just gave us a shocking Celtics trade update, speaking about Anthony Simons and why the Celtics are already shopping him and what the most likely landing spot is. We talk about all the latest details right here, right now on Celtics Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jayson Andrews, and I appreciate you hanging out with me on the show. If you're looking for coverage of the Boston Celtics, we've got you covered. Go down there, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Let's get into today's video talking about Anthony Simons because, well, he is an interesting situation. We all know the story. The Celtics were trying to cut cost in this past offseason to get under the second apron, which they did, but in the goal of all that, they thought, well, maybe we can get under the first apron as well. And they tried to in a lot of ways. They were shopping Anthony Simons, and obviously with his expiring contract and with Jayson Tatum out, it didn't exactly filter through the Celtics game plan. Well, now they're in more of an interesting situation because while the Celtics have looked good the past couple of games, obviously taking down Cleveland, the Magic game, I still have questions about this team, and I think I've seen enough comments to this point that I feel like I can speak confidently on how Celtics Nation feels, but this team is just not as fun to watch, and maybe that's just because Jayson Tatum isn't there. I loved watching Jaylen Brown, don't get me wrong, I do love watching it, but I don't know, there's just a different feel, and maybe that's just because we've been so spoiled the last couple of years, but with Anthony Simons, the point being, the Celtics long-term should trade him. Even short-term, they should trade him because ultimately he provides no value to you if you don't plan on signing him back after the offseason, which by all accounts, Brad Stevens has no intention of doing. And so, as such, there was a bunch of reports coming out about, well, what's going to happen with Anthony Simons? Is he going to be traded? Is he going to be moved? Where is he going to be moved? And kind of all the details that broke it down. Well, I think the first thing we have to talk about is why the Celtics, first of all, don't want to keep Anthony Simons. And I showed the game log, but let's go to his season stats first, because when you look at this, it looks pretty decent. The 26-year-old is playing 24 minutes per game, averaging just under 14 points per game. Field goal percentage, three-point percentage is solid. Every other stat is just There's nothing that sticks out and special. But again, I continue to go back to the game logs, he has good games here and there, but they're not consistent. I mean, 23 points back-to-back nights versus Brooklyn, Orlando, and then 5 points. Granted, he played in less minutes, but it's just kind of the way that Joe Mazzulla uses him is off the bench and in certain game plans and in certain styles. And so if you're only using this player, well, granted, he works in these certain styles, if you're only using him in these certain playbooks and styles, then why try and keep him past this trade deadline? And for December, it could be his final 4 month with the Celtics. That's where we go to the latest report. Supposedly, we've gotten some new inklings that the Bucks could be the solution to what is being called now the Celtics Anthony Simons problem. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a quote-unquote problem. He's a good player. He's young. If he came and played this season, and that's all he's had, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal. I would like to get something out of him just because I know he's valued across the NBA, and I would expect us to get something out of him. But how do the Milwaukee Bucks come into the situation, and why are they a team of note when it comes to Anthony Simons and his trade destination, let's say? That's where we go to Jack Simon of Fansided, who says, quote, Milwaukee Bucks showed an interest in Simons this summer. They could be the most obvious answer to solving Boston's potential Simons trade dilemma. That said, a deal could be tricky to get done, as the Celtics would either have to take on some bad money or find a third team to take it instead, end quote. That's where this trade idea and kind of trade, report takes a little bit of an awkward turn, because we all know that the Celtics, by no intention, are wanting to trade Anthony Simons just for another money bag that's going to sit around that may or may not help them past the next year or two. And with that, the Milwaukee Bucks posed an interesting thought, because yes, they want him, and yes, they are going to be here for a potential trade. What they have to offer is not much. And again, he's got 1 year left on his contract. You need to figure out something that can really work in your favor. And right now, the only explanation we've gotten from the Bucks is that Kyle Kuzma is the guy they're going to get him. Here is the quote. That said, the problem for Boston would be that they would most certainly have to take back Kyle Kuzma's contract and a deal unless they manage to find a third team that wants him, which, don't know if you realize this, a lot of teams don't want Kyle Kuzma right now, especially with what he's being paid. That poses the problem of how do you find a third team? Well, I think the perfect nuance to this is that the Bucks really do want him. There's been reports that they are excited, and Jack Simon of Fansided has a very good point here, saying, quote, Simons transitioned to a bench role in Boston this year, and his consistency has taken a hit. But on the Bucks, perhaps he could find comfort in a new home due to the change of scenery, end quote. And also to add to that fact, he could find comfort in probably a more substantial role because, as we've said, and as I showed you in the statistics of his game log, which is where you have to truly dive deep into this dilemma, I guess is the best way to call it, when he is used at a substantial amount and when he is consistently used, his points reflect that. 33 minutes versus the Nets, 23 points. 22 minutes versus the Magic, 23 points. My point being is this. Anthony Simons, to me, because of his age at 26, because of the mantra behind him, and maybe the aura, I don't know what the best word to put it is, but if he is a consistent guy playing in, day out, 20 minutes, or a starter for a team, I think he can be very, very successful in this league. But as of right now, and for what will most likely remain for the rest of the season, Simons, if he keeps that bench role, will not be what the Celtics want him to be or need him to be if they choose to try and make the playoffs and bring Jayson Tatum back early. And so in that light, you're basically using a year of development on a guy that's not going to be in your franchise come next season. Milwaukee really wants him. The Nets really want him. There are people out there that are willing to make a 3-team trade work, and with the Bucks being interested and a potential third team easily able to come in there, and the Bucks obviously could add some extra splice into that if they wanted Simons and wanted to extend him, that could make this whole deal a lot better. And I do want to point out that for the Boston Celtics purposes, they've actually been on a very good run. They beat Cleveland. Yes, they lost to Minnesota, but they beat Detroit, snapping their 13-game winning streak. They beat Orlando. And I said that after that LA, Brooklyn little 3-game stretch, they had some tough games coming in. If you look at the schedule that I have pictured here, 3 losses in that time frame. One of those was before the time frame in Philadelphia. I technically want to go back to that. Now, they still have New York coming and Los Angeles and Toronto and Milwaukee and Detroit again and Miami and Toronto again. Like, there are going to be good teams throughout this. And maybe 10 games down the line, we're looking at this team saying, let's keep him. Let's keep Anthony Simons. Let's try and get JT back. Let's get him a little playoff run going. Because the East, it ain't all that in a bag of chips. It ain't all that in a bag. In fact, it might not be. It might just be the bag of chips. I don't know. The East is so bad. The Knicks are a laughing disgrace to what they were supposed to be. But, of course, all the Knicks fans, we get better with time. Sure, okay, buddy, cool, whatever. Anyway, yeah. Either way, we're looking to see what we can do with Anthony Simons. My best opinion is that we should trade him, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If that is something you would like to do, if that's something that you agree, that would be like the best situation. So, I don't know. I'm curious for your 2 cents. That's what we got for you today on Celtics Digest, though. I, again, appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next time here on Celtics Digest. Peace out, guys.